She showed no remorse, so I made her regret it. Hello, I am 40 years old and have been married to Christine, 39, for nearly 10 years. We have one kid, my darling daughter, who is 9 years old. We've had our ups and downs, and there have been a lot of downs, but we've gotten through it all. There was no infidelity, but we both had trust issues. I will admit, however, that for the last 2 years or so, I have done my best as a spouse, and I believe I have kept a good track record. My wife and I have a terrific relationship in the bedroom. We're getting older, yet things haven't changed dramatically since we first met. I've always been grateful for that, since I've been in relationships with women who could as well have been celibate, which was frustrating to say the least. No amount of conversation could have changed things, so a lady who truly wants to roll around in bed is a joy to me. I had a business before meeting my wife, and after we married, she eventually joined me at the helm to operate it. About 2 weeks ago, I was in an accident on my way to work. I was T-boned at a red light and ended up in the hospital with a shattered femur and humerus. Needless to say, that was not fun. Once it was determined that there was no internal damage, I was released home in 2 days with a cast on my arm and leg. Obviously, my mobility was severely limited, but I was able to navigate the house with a lot of tripping and leaning on objects. Of course, there were some things I couldn't do, and Christine had to assist me with them for about the first week. She looked happy with it, and I asked her if it wasn't too much of a strain. She would say no with a bright smile. However, as I progressed into the second week, I noticed a shift in her attitude. To be honest, when I say our life in the bedroom is excellent, I mean it, and we rarely go a week without anything happening. My first thought was that it might have been due of that, especially since my body was starting to crave it as well. When I asked her whether I was a burden, she responded no again, but this time she was more abrupt with me. I questioned her directly whether it was due to a lack of movement between us, but she answered no and swiftly left the room. In that moment, I truly believed it was. But I also believed that after being married for so long, she'd be able to answer a question like that honestly. My mouth and one of my hands were still functional, so I felt certain that we'd be able to figure things out. Okay, here's the thing. She returned home yesterday after handling the business on my behalf, and she was plainly in a much better mood than the previous days. I may describe her mood as effervescent. I'm not sure if I'm being paranoid, but I've felt like her mood before was because we couldn't be intimate. I'm suddenly wondering whether she was able to get someone else to handle that side of things for her. I mean, she has never cheated on me. Does anyone ever know for certain? Aside from the rapid change in her mood, I wouldn't have anything else to suspect her of. But speaking with her, there didn't appear to be any obvious cause for her sudden delight. So, before I do anything rash, which I doubt I will be able to do given my current situation, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Should I try to do some digging? Should I just assume she was happy for other reasons? I mean, I feel like I'm leaping to conclusions after so long of knowing each other, but just let me know what you think. Update. Hello everyone. It has been approximately 3 weeks since my last article, but I am here with an update. A number of you suggested I check her phone. Partners should be able to check each other's phones if they have nothing to conceal. I know she can check mine whenever she wants because I've never had anything to conceal. Well, I ultimately checked, and wow, did I discover anything. Anyway, I wasn't going to ask her to hand it over, because this would give her the opportunity to remove any proof. I needed to acquire access to it when I would have enough time to go through everything, and perhaps save any evidence I discovered. Just so you know, after that day of happiness, she gradually returned to her normal mood, and the next day she was cheerful again. It was the third time she came back, overjoyed that I had gotten my chance. She was chewing gum, but I could sense a faint odor of alcohol following her. She didn't kiss me when she returned home, but she was delighted. I'm not sure what she drank, but she fell asleep quickly and left her phone next to her in bed. I had never checked Christine's phone before, but I was nervous while I did so because I was afraid she would wake up at any time and I'd have to start explaining myself. But the agony of not knowing if she was cheating on me was much worse, so I pushed through. There were no images or videos of her with anyone strange, but when I checked her messaging app, I noticed an unread message from Alex. Squinting at the profile photo, I realized it was the same Alex who worked for me. Things were pretty formal till about a day before my wife returned home, all effervescent for the first time. Alex had begun flirting hard with her, and she had returned the favor. He must have received permission from someone at work that day to go all out. And it simply highlighted how little I knew while I was at home recovering. I noted that on 3 instances when my wife returned in a better mood, Alex always asked if she had arrived home. However, he never did that on other days. Between those days there was some flirting here and there, but nothing too extreme, though it could have been. I took a few pictures with my phone and returned hers. This happened about 2 days ago, and I honestly don't know what to do. She didn't seem any different the next day, so I don't think she suspected I touched her phone, most likely because she was tipsy. but I honestly don't know what to do. I have enough evidence to conclude that my wife has cheated on me with my employee at least 3 times. But how do I proceed in a way that makes sense? Do I just say divorce and then figure everything out? The thing is, I am extremely hurt. We haven't had a perfect marriage, but for the most part it has been enjoyable. Cheating never seemed to be an issue for me, but when I had an accident, she chose to cheat on me. I've tried to act normal around her, but I'm not sure if I can take it any longer. I need this to end, but not just with a divorce. I need more than that. I need to be satisfied. Please. I've been trying to think of things I can do, but my mind is failing to connect to ideas. I'll be waiting to hear what suggestions you all may have for me. Who needs crutches when you've got a keen eye for spotting infidelity? All right, now let's talk about your wife's little rendezvous with Mr. Employee of the Month, Alex. Looks like he's been taking more than just coffee breaks with her, huh? As for your sweet wife, well, she's got some explaining to do, doesn't she? Cheating on you while you're laid up with broken bones? Talk about adding insult to injury. Now, on to the fun part, revenge. Sure, you could follow the standard route and get an ugly divorce, but where is the joy in that? Why not get a little creative with your payback? So start strategizing, getting even, and most importantly, get back to living your best life without a cheating spouse holding you back. After all, there's an entire globe waiting for you to conquer, broken bones and all. Wow, time flies. It's been a while since my last update, but after I posted it, I believe I read through every single comment. Thank you all for your nice thoughts and recommendations. They surely influenced my approach. The first thing I did was find a divorce attorney. I didn't pay a retainer at the time, I just wanted to learn everything I could about his services. At that point, I still believed there was an explanation for what I had read on her phone. I decided to confront her before making any final decisions. It was easier for me to get around on my own. So I told her I wanted to follow her to work to see how things were going and say hello to the staff. She made a weak attempt to persuade me to stay at home, claiming that she had everything under control. But by that point, I knew nothing would stop me from going. So, about an hour later, I was in the passenger seat, and we were driving to our business location. Most of the guys, including Alex, were overjoyed to see me, though he appeared to be much more awkward than the others. My wife also did not appear to be pleased that I was there. Toward the end of the workday, I summoned Alex to my office, knowing that my wife was nearby. I noticed her freeze up as I did this, and she followed Alex into my office, something she would never do if it was anyone else. But I did not tell her to leave. Both of them seemed shifty, though I might have been imagining it. I only asked Alex something about a client we had been dealing with before the accident happened. And I could actually see the fear disappear from his body as he realized I was just asking about something relatively trivial. Once the day ended, I headed back home with my wife, and she was slightly talkative, maybe because she realized, or at least assumed, that she hadn't been found out. I felt like I had more than enough suspicion at that point to be very direct with her, so I decided that I would do it the next day when she returned from work. Perhaps fortunately for me, the next day was another one of those days when her mood seemed to be better than usual, which triggered me because it made me assume she had just been intimate with my employee minutes before. She was probably made bolder because she felt she had confirmation that I didn't suspect it one bit. But that was just part of what gave me the courage to confront her. Minutes after she walked in, I asked her to sit across from me, and I asked her straight up, "Are you cheating on me with Alex?" She froze. But it wasn't for long. Then she said yes. Right after that, she stood up and headed toward the kitchen. I told her to sit back down, and that I wasn't done, but she still went to the fridge to get a silly yogurt cup. Only then did she come back. Honestly, I could already tell she didn't seem to be remorseful based on her behavior. I asked her why? Why did you think that was a good idea? She went into explaining how she has needs as a woman and I wasn't providing those needs for her. I pointed out that I had been in a freaking accident, that I still had casts on, and her major concern was that there was no sex. I told her that if she had told me how dire her needs were, we could have found a way to sort things out, at least until I was healed. But she only shook her head and said, "It wouldn't have been the same." Honestly, in that moment, I was lost for words. I was anticipating sobbing and pleading in apparent guilt, but the foolish woman in front of me was trying to excuse her cheating. I asked her directly whether she was sorry, and she answered me no. She stated again that she had wants, and I couldn't meet them. It wasn't her fault that she wouldn't deny herself pleasure since I had gotten myself T-boned by an SUV. Yeah, I hate to admit it, but I lost all the cool that I had at that time. I struggled to my feet and walked over to her in an intimidating way. I didn't raise a fist or anything, but as I approached her, she sprang up and shoved me hard. I lost balance and hit our wooden coffee table on the way down. I banged my shoulder. Nothing was damaged, I eventually confirmed, and I laid on the floor in pain. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close and her car start up and drive away. Yeah, my wife, soon to be divorced, knocked me over and didn't even check whether I was okay. I practically had 2 casts on. It was a few minutes before I could clamber up onto the couch, and my shoulder was in a lot of pain. The first thing I did was contact the police since I had genuinely lost all respect and affection for her in that moment. I was seeing red. Apparently, the sounds of our disagreement had woken up my daughter, who was hiding near the top of the stairs. When she watched me get pushed, she burst into tears. It hurt my heart to see her like way. She continued asking what had happened between me and her mother, and I didn't know what to tell her. Eventually, the police arrived, took my report, and transported me and my kid to the hospital for an X-ray. Fortunately, there was no lasting injury to my shoulder. Given that I was on my road to recovery, I would have been furious if I had broken anything else. As soon as I came home that night, I put my daughter to bed and texted the divorce lawyer that I was ready to move forward. Christine has not returned home in the 3 days since that incident, and I have not even called her. My daughter continues asking where her mother is, so I had to make up a ridiculous reason that she went to see her sister. At this point, it's literally war, and I believe I have everything I need to bring things down for Christine. She wasn't sorry for cheating on me, but my purpose is to make her apologize. Wow. I mean, everyone has wants, but here's the thing, bones mend. That's the type of stuff they do. Not only that, but as you mentioned, there are other options to make things work. I imagine your wife missed the memo about sickness and health and chose the in-bed with the office assistant option. From filing police complaints to preparing for divorce, you're like a one-man vengeance machine. And with your daughter at your side, you have all the motivation you need to make this circus a spectacular. Update. I'm writing this, the final update to my narrative, with a great smile on my face. I know it's been months since my last update, but if you're a lover of Schadenfreude, you'll enjoy this one. I know I do. The first thing I did was text every one of Christine's relatives that I knew, from her parents to a cousin I'd never met twice before. I even forwarded it to the friends whose phone numbers I had, because I was pissed. I did not write anything that was not true. I also sent them photos I took of her and Alex flirting back then. Some answered, some did not. The people who responded were more sympathetic, and I assumed the majority of those who did not were on Christine's side. My job there was completed. Whether they supported her or not, I made sure her shady behavior was well documented. After that, I went to work and met Christine. She was surprised to see me, probably thinking I was too depressed to do anything. It was only 10 seconds before I pointed to her and Alex, the employee she had been cheating on me with, and informed them that they were both fired. She used to be my wife, but she was now an employee. Her name was nowhere to be found in the business documentation, and I'm pleased I didn't involve her to that extent. Alex was taken aback by how quickly everything happened, but he couldn't dispute because he knew he was to blame. He had worked for me for 3 years, and he'll have a great time attempting to use me as a reference for his next position. Meanwhile, Christine was enraged. She approached me, and I was terrified that I would get slapped again, even though that would have been ideal for me. And when she was at arm's length, I delivered the divorce papers to her. Her cheeks grew scarlet because our staff were present, but I didn't mind. She grabbed the papers from me and marched out of the room. The rest of the day was awkward, and I had to deal with a lot of cursing and texts from her after she realized how many people I had told about her cheating. But wait, my story doesn't end there, it really gets better. Remember the assault? I had a police report and a hospital report, and I went to the police station at the close of business to report things. I told them I wanted to press charges. To jump over things a bit, my divorce lawyer was able to assist me build the case effectively. As a complete bonus, considering this came after I confronted her for cheating, she was unremorseful, I was injured, and my daughter witnessed it. She got a week in jail and required anger management sessions. I regret that my young kid had to get involved a bit, but for me it was worth it. The criminal record made me happy. Then we got into the divorce proceedings. These took a long time, especially because Christine was extremely stubborn throughout the process, but it was eventually a breeze because there was far too much documented evidence of my ex-wife's bad behavior. I mean, she had assaulted me, which she admitted. She admitted she cheated on me. And she showed no remorse for either of those things. My daughter had to witness her father's assault, which killed me. I made a mistake by firing her before finalizing the divorce, so I have to pay a manageable sum of alimony for 5 years. She's not a part of the business I built from the ground up. I have custody of my kid since her mother's ability to control her temper and avoid bringing strange guys into her life is in question. I get to keep the house. Why should I uproot my small girl? I got to expose my wife's actions to all of her friends and family and give her a clean criminal record. Honestly, I didn't intend to do any of this, but she made it work for me. Since she's simply naturally a bad person, I wish I had noticed it earlier, but it is what it is. I'm just glad the story is over, and my daughter is safe with me. Life goes on. And I'll try to rebuild eventually, but for now I'm happy with the way things went. And I hope you all are too. Edit, by the way. Alex apparently had the balls to put my name down as a reference, and I made sure to professionally outline all his shortcomings as an employee, including the fact he may try to be inappropriate with the female partners of high-ranking employees. It was fun to hear, oh wow, thank you for letting us know that from the person on the other end. I guess no evil goes unpaid. First off, kudos to you for taking the term hell hath no fury like a man scorned to a whole new level. From texting the entire family tree to handing out pink slips like their Halloween candy, you've truly mastered the art of sweet, sweet revenge. And don't forget the piece de resistance, pressing charges like a boss, complete with a police report, a hospital report, and a lot of righteous anger. You turned that assault into a one-way trip to jail for your soon-to-be ex. Talk about turning the tables. But the real cherry on top? That alimony with an expiration date. 5 years of paying for her sins seems like a small price to pay for the satisfaction of seeing her behind bars and your daughter safe and sound by your side. As for Mr. Employee of the Month, well, let's just say he's about to learn the hard way that karma is a real witch. Putting your name down as a reference? Oh, the audacity. But hey, at least you got to professionally outline all of his flaws and watch him squirm like a worm on a hook. What are your thoughts? Would you have done things differently? Thank you for joining us today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.